Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I am Steve Smith. Well, I guess I offended some people with yesterday's or hurt their little fragile feelings. Too bad. Uh, I watched today, earlier, I watched the most embarrassing, disgusting press conference by the Pretender of any that I've ever seen. Um, I watched it just to see. I kind of like watching looking at a car wreck. But it was just embarrassing. I'd like to say that I watched it so you don't have to, but man, if you need any more clarification on the kind of trouble this country's in and the so-called, I won't call it leadership, that we're under, watch that. Watch what's going on. Uh, I'll leave it at that. I wanted to talk today about something that's uh, going to apply on several different levels. It's going to apply and not just, and usually this has to do with fighting, with martial arts or combat arts, and usually I just put that over on Patreon. But this also applies to how I've talked about how we need to start taking the fight to the other side politically. And I think that you'll see how that works. A few weeks ago, I went to kind of a special get together of some very special people. Uh, I won't say who it was, what group it was, but it's a group that I'm very honored to be associated with, and I met an acquaintance. I hadn't met him before in person. We had talked on the phone. We had been introduced on the phone by a mutual friend, and I immediately knew that he was my kind of guy. And so we met there, and I had sent him some of my books. He had heard about my books, or my friend had given him my books. I forget what. And he gave me one of his books at this get together, and it contains it's about fighting. It contains many sections that I could share, and maybe I will share over on Patreon. But one in particular, I was just glancing through it the other day, and this kind of stuck out at me. Now, I know we have a lot of veterans here, a lot of Army guys, former guys. I think we got some former SF guys here. You might be familiar with him. His name is Jim West, Smokey West. Smokey was in, what was he? I think he was in 7th Group. And when he retired, and he was very active, very, I'd say his experience is wide and deep. And then after he retired officially from the Army, he contracted, and he's taught most of the Tier 1 folks and others around. He has written a book, and he is the developer of American Extension Fighting. And he gave me a copy of his book, A Mind for the Fight. I don't know where you can get it or if you can get it, but if you can, it would be well worth your while and your money. I don't know how much it costs. Like I said, he gave it to me. But whether or not you're a fighter, or whether or not you're just wanting to learn to be a fighter, or learn the tactics of fighting and the strategies, or whether you want to apply this like you can Sun Tzu in so many different things, it's well worth your while. Smokey is not only is he a warrior, he's an intellectual. He is one of the true intellectuals of the fighting arts and combat sciences. He's up there with Joe Louis was another. Joe Louis, and I keep meaning to tell a story about about Joe Louis. Maybe I'll get to that one of these days. But he's in the company of Joe Louis and Jim Harrison, and to an extent, Bruce Lee. Lee didn't have the real world experience that these other guys did, but nonetheless, he was a great student and teacher and intellectual of the fighting arts. And Smokey definitely is that. He has really dedicated his life to the study and the teaching of this. And I want to just share something here. It's one of his principles in his American Extension Fighting. You'll see how this applies not only to fighting, but also to how we should be. And like I've said recently, it's kind of funny that this came out, because how I've said we need to take the fight, figuratively, the political fight, to our political adversaries. Okay, I'm going to start here. It's one of his principles. He says, apply constant forward pressure. And as I read this, I couldn't agree more with this. And I will say, I know that I haven't gone into a lot of my background, but well, doesn't matter. So this is apply constant forward pressure. And I would suggest that after you read this, you might want to back it up and review this, several times, so that you can see how it applies not to just to fighting, but to our political field. This is a fundamental precept of the AEF approach to fighting. By applying constant forward pressure, you control the fight. You manage the distance, and you dictate the pace. It must be noted that this principle is most important for combat sports, but the broad strokes are valuable for a street situation as well, particularly as your skills develop. Now, he comes at it from that because he trained a lot of fighters. Okay, I'll leave it at that. To better understand the forward pressure concept, think of it as the ability to make your attacker feel like he is always in danger of being hit. This is because you are in control of the distance at all times. This has to be done in all directions in order to avoid chasing. Remember, never chase. You want to create the distance that places your opponent under stress, while at the same time making him have to step or move in order to punch. This will also set him up for entrapment footwork, i.e. catching him between steps. It also creates a scenario where you are more likely to force him into telegraphing his movements and intentions. Additionally, this pressure does not allow your attacker to rest or reset, and will affect his breathing. The only thing you don't have in a fight is time, and breath control is critical to survival. That goes for your attacker too. If he is forced into shallow breathing, panic, or simply holding his breath, often a result of confusion and anticipation, this, coupled with overreaction and the chemical burn of adrenaline, will cause him to become weak and vulnerable, often in less than 12 seconds or so. It's also very important that when you move in and close the gap, you do so while firing. Close up your framing defense and fire when you close the distance. Firing means punching, kicking, knees, elbows, whatever. It is pointless to move forward on an attack without striking him while doing so. Simple double jabs, front kicks, or switch steps allow you to close up to 10 feet in 1 second. While striking, this can be a powerful method for stopping your attacker. There are two basic elements. They're just two elements here. I'm going to read them, then I'm going to kind of close it up. There are two basic key elements to implementing forward pressure. First, be a proactive fighter. You can either be proactive or reactive fighter, and AEF fighters are always proactive. You should never wait. Even when moving from side to side or backwards, you press forward. Even when your opponent becomes evasive, you can manage your distance and create angles of attack, thus maintaining pressure. The idea is to maintain constant pressure by cutting his movement off in every direction while maintaining critical distance. The second, utilize entrapment footwork. Your footwork, this also applies, remember, this applies to what we're coming up against with our political adversaries in our arguments, taking it to them. Your footwork will play a crucial role in effectively applying pressure. Joe Louis referred to this as entrapment footwork, and I know that Smokey worked a lot with Joe Louis, whereby you are constantly shutting down your opponent's ability to get their offense off the ground while simultaneously setting yourself up to attack. This has a psychological effect on your opponent as they suddenly feel that they're in a danger zone every second they are in front of you. They are made to feel like if they stop or make the wrong move, they will be hit by you. That's exactly right. Smokey takes this guy down, and I'll read something here just in case you guys aren't familiar with Smokey. I noticed on the back there's a squib here from somebody, and some of you may be familiar with Dale Comstock. And Comstock says, "My confidence not only lies in the training and skills that Jim taught me, but in the warrior mindset he instilled. It is this mindset that has ultimately allowed me to bring my skills and weapons to bear in battle without pause or hesitation. Jim West's character as a trainer and teacher is the perfect blend of temperance, tolerance, directness, and forceful encouragement." So I want to give Smokey another plug here. If you can find this book, A Mind for the Fight, American Extension Fighting by Jim Smokey West, get it. It's going to serve you well. Actually, I didn't start off this to be a book review, and I really could give it a much more extensive review, but I don't think really that I need to. I just say it will not only apply to your personal combat skills, but how you relate to, engage, prepare, handle yourself in any combative situation, be it physical, mental, verbal, whatever. That's all I want to say. I think if you will go back, we're in it for a fight, but like I said the other day, recent developments have changed the entire field of battle, if you want to use that term, and put us in a situation to where what we bring can have a much greater effect than it would have even 3 days ago. Our opposition is crumbling from the top. We cannot let up, just like Smokey says. We have to always be on the advance, always closing in. Know what you're talking about. Now's the time to keep your eye on the news so that you know exactly what's going on, so that you can bring that information out. And we need to either convert or I don't want to say eliminate. That's a harsh way to be. But we want to be victorious over our opposition, our political opposition, now that we have that chance, and we do. So think about that. I would suggest, I know I read it kind of quickly, listening to something on a video like this, you don't really get those points deep in you like it's in a real training situation. But I would suggest you review this, back this tape up, listen to me. I don't care about you listening to me, but listen to Smokey's words over and over and over and over again until you're able to ingrain those in your in the situations you find yourself in. Again, if you can get it, A Mind for the Fight, American Extension Fighting by Jim Smokey West. And you'll be glad you did. I'll leave it there. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, and preparing our mind and understanding that the conflict that we're in, pressing our case, is so often the key to victory. So you all have a good day. I'll talk to you later.